Hi, my name's Daryl, and I do a whole lot of content on the RAV4 and especially the RAV4 Prime because I've got one. I've had one since 2021, and today I've got some really exciting news. So, according to multiple sources, the sixth generation of the RAV4 will be introduced in 2026. Now, availability of the RAV4 actually will be in mid or spring 2025. And yeah, the RAV4, the fifth generation, was first introduced in 2018, so it's definitely time for a new one. So, most importantly, what will this new RAV4 look like? Well, I found some renderings of what it could look like for 2026, and there's really no guarantees, but I would expect it to continue to move towards the more truck-like appearance, to have it be more boxy, kind of more rugged looking, more off-roady. I would expect it to take its design cues from the Kia Telluride as well as the Toyota Grand Highlander. I'd expect it to be taller with bigger windows to improve visibility as well as to improve cargo space. So for me, really the most important updates to the RAV4, I think, is going to be with the drivetrain. And so I would expect a brand new EV version of the RAV4 to be available, as well as the discontinuation of the gas-only model, and it'll be a hybrid. And finally, I think there's going to be some additional range as well as additional horsepower in the plug-in hybrid, the RAV4 Prime. These changes coincide with the opening of Toyota's new battery manufacturing plant. That's going to open in North Carolina. So they've actually done some changes, just recent changes, putting additional funding into the battery plant because they extended the number of lines. They're going to have a total of 14 lines, with 10 of them basically being dedicated to the plug-in hybrid or the battery-only electric vehicles, and 4 of the lines being dedicated to the hybrid vehicles. I found a really interesting article where Toyota's executive vice president of product talked about the plug-in hybrids and how Toyota's plans for the future is to extend the range of the plug-in hybrids from 40 or so miles to over 120 miles. Now, I don't know if this is going to be done in time for the RAV4 Prime, the updated one, but for sure, Toyota is going to extend the range of the RAV4 Prime, basically to meet California's new emission standards, because plug-in hybrids need to be able to go at least 50 miles on battery alone. So for the Prime, in addition to extended range, I would expect the RAV4 Prime to get a horsepower bump. The rear motors on the RAV4 Prime only have a measly 52 horsepower, so I would expect for them to use some of the technology that has been developed for the E-axle in the rear of the Lexus TX 550h Plus, and I would expect that to make it to the RAV4 Prime or something similar, and hoping to get probably around 350 horsepower out of the RAV4 Prime and be able to do 0 to 60 in low 5 seconds. So one other really huge change for the Prime is I believe it will now be manufactured in the United States. So now that the batteries will be coming from the United States and it will be built likely in the Indiana plant, now the Prime will be actually eligible for the federal tax rebate. So that'll make a lot of people really happy. So one other really huge change for the RAV4 is I do believe that the gas-only version of the RAV4 will be discontinued. So Toyota offered some insight into this, where in that same article, they really talked about they could get a strategic advantage over their competitors by offering the hybrid as opposed to the gas-only counterparts. And they can do this really because they've been developing hybrid technology for a long time. And the cost of this technology has gone down to a sixth of what the original cost was. Now, this is really a win-win because, for consumers, you get both better horsepower and performance, and you also get better fuel mileage. And so it's really great. I would expect the horsepower to be bumped up a little bit, probably around 245 horsepower, similar to the Toyota Sienna or the Toyota Highlander. So I've dropped some bombshells already, and this is the big one, is I believe the RAV4 will have an EV model. Now it's going to be introduced a little bit later, so as opposed to 2025, spring of 2025, I think this will come out more likely in 2026. But Toyota did offer some insight into this in the same article where they talked about producing or manufacturing worldwide. What they want to do by 2026 is be able to manufacture 1.5 million EV vehicles. And so that's a huge number, and it would really make sense for Toyota's best-selling vehicle, the RAV4, to have or to be an EV model. And so when Toyota introduced, and maybe it was a couple of years ago, they introduced the BZ4X, I didn't like the fact that it didn't have a whole lot of horsepower. And I think it was just basically Toyota kind of testing the market and with their joint venture with Subaru. And so now it makes sense because I think they're really moving into the EV space. And I would expect the new RAV4 EV to have somewhere in the range of 400 horsepower and be able to get 0 to 60 in really a kind of a low or mid 4-second number. And so this is just speculation, but it would sure be great to see a RAV4 come in an EV model. Now, the interior of the RAV4, I really don't think it's going to change all that much. I think maybe there'll be some additional colors, maybe some softer and some better materials inside the interior, but it's always been, the RAV4 has always been a durable kind of interior that you don't have to worry about so much. And I think that's going to stay relatively the same. I think they're going to continue to have a lot of physical buttons, like with the climate control and the volume buttons, because I think in general, most consumers actually prefer those physical controls. So of course, until Toyota makes some sort of official announcement, this is all speculation. But given the new battery plants, I would expect them to move to hybrid technology in most of their vehicles, and I really expect them to ramp up the production of both plug-in hybrid vehicles as well as pure EV vehicles. So if you enjoyed this video, please like it and also consider subscribing to my channel. I do a whole lot of content on the RAV4 and the RAV4 Prime. And so, yeah, if you're interested in those things, subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one again very soon.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays. Way